Hello, everybody. My name is Juma. I am Syrian activist living in Turkey. And I'm the founder and the president of Rodonur Foundation. Here today, we will speak about the situation of the civil NGOs, civil societies in Turkey with the banding of coronavirus. Today, we have a guest. He is engineer. His name is Muhammed Damour. He is engineer, and at the same time, he is working as the country director of Silatec. And now, Mr. Muhammad, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Ms. Rauda, and thanks for İGAMTV for this invitation. My name is Muhammed Damour. I'm from Syria. I have been in Turkey since 7 years, almost 7 years. I'm an industrial engineer with MBA master degree, almost. I'm working with currently with the Silatec International NGO based in Qatar, Doha. I'm coordinating their projects in Turkey. Also, I'm the co-founder for Slamé Center. It's the first and the biggest Syrian orphanage in Turkey. And also recently, I started my own small trade company where we do like commercial broker between Turkish factories and Arabic market.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. As we all know, the corona pandemic has reached its peak all over the world, affecting the lives and livelihood of many people and business around the world. As a head of the society, of civil society organization based in Turkey, could you please kindly tell us about how coronavirus affected the scope of your work?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, there is it's very hard to add one word more about corona pandemic, since it's global and it affects everywhere. But what we can say, like here in Turkey, the most affected was the refugees and also the NGOs who's working for refugees. We have in Turkey around 4 million refugees, and number of the daily worker between 800 and 900,000 Syrians. Some of them, they lost their job from the first case in Turkey. And day by day, the number of unemployment rate getting higher and higher. And also related with the NGOs who's also working in Turkey. Now they are in the confusion stage, since they had the priority now is changed. If we were talking about 4 or 5 years ago, the NGOs were like focusing more about the shelters and health projects. Then they move on for education projects. And last 2 years, they were focusing more about rehabilitation and economic empowerment projects and resilience projects. But now they are like, they have to reorganize their plans, strategic plans. Now we start like, they start thinking about more to step back to the health projects and awareness projects. So the situation, it's actually a little bit confusing for this period. Regarding with the work from home, I think it's not big problem for the NGOs, since like they have good experience to do many projects remotely. But with the priority, it's a little bit difficult for now. Maybe now that most people they give attention for the health situation, but after a few weeks we will start have more clear idea about the economic impact and even the NGOs work. Not only the type of the projects and the priority of the projects will be changed, but also I think that we will face struggling with fundraising, with collecting monies. Now the pandemic, it's a global, and usually most of the NGOs take funds from governments, from profit companies, and now all the crisis will be like everywhere. So like I think they will have to think more about the fundraising and how to collect money.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. And I have a question that for now, refugees, they are really in need for support, especially now with the situation of Corona. So what do you think the needs of refugees in this season, and what do you tell organizations and NGOs and locally NGOs to work on?
All right. Well, actually, as I mentioned, now like we have to back like for a few steps and talking again about the basics life needs, like the food baskets and the health baskets and hygienes. Since the Syrians, the refugees, and even the Turkish worker losing their job, I mean the problem will be a little bit big. I can say like clearly the performance for the situation in Turkey for government and NGOs is better than other country comparing with US or even Europe. But still the needs is like we have to back to the main needs. I can say like the Kızılay card was since the beginning and until now was the life jacket. It's not enough, but it's a life jacket for most of the Syrian refugees. Maybe we need to focus more about the daily basics needs.
Yes, thank you. And do you have advices or something to speak about how can local NGOs collaborate with governments and NGOs in this season?
Well, actually, the NGOs they can have a really effective job to be the link between government and beneficiaries, if they are Turkish or like refugees, Syrians. Very important point, the language. Most of the Syrian refugees, even after a few years, they don't speak Turkish, and there is lots of reasons for that. Maybe only students who already went to Turkish or schools or universities. So like Syrians refugees are really far away from the speech, the government speech, the Turkish NGO speech, the awareness. Maybe the local NGOs need to focus more about deliver the information, deliver the awareness sessions for these between the government, NGOs, and them as well.
Yes, thank you. And the restriction on traveling between cities and also traveling abroad did for sure affect the work capacity of civil society organizations?
Well, yeah, of course. Now that traveling problem is getting bigger and bigger. But again, I told you, like for NGOs, like they can manage their projects remotely, but for refugees, it's very important that it's very serious problem. Like we have a big number of Syrians who's working locally in the local market, in different sectors, but it's very important for them to move from city to city. Like if you are talking about, for example, the worker in agricultures, they work like you see them in this season working in Urfa, and after 2 months they moving to another city, and after 2 months they moving for another city. So their job now locked down in one city. Same for like do the small trade, local trade, who like sell products for other cities. Also they like block. So yeah, it's a little bit also like make the situation harder.
Yes, thank you very much. And if you remember, before the corona pandemic, some of refugees tried to cross Greek, if you remember.
Yeah.
They could not go in, but the government bring them back and now put them in camps. Some of them, they still living in cities. For example, here in Gaziantep, the people who tried to go Greek and then come back, now they are sitting with their families or with their relative or friends, because they don't have homes, they don't have temporary ID, and because when they tried to go, they lived all their rights, and now they are back. Do you have any idea about these people, or did they get their rights back, or?
Well, all right. Thank you for this question. Actually, it's very important question, since like everyone was talking about the Syrians who stuck in the border between Turkey and Greece like last few weeks, and suddenly like no one heard anything about them and what's going on, where they disappeared. Actually, like most of them, they back to Turkey for their own places. Most of the refugees, they went to the border. They tried to enter to Greece, but in the beginning they didn't pretty sure that they can across the border. So they keep their job, they keep their flats. So like it was like just tried, and then they back to their places. Yes, there was like lots of also refugees, mostly not Syrians, Afghani and other nationality. They were illegals. They were without, as you mentioned, like any ID, like protection ID or anything else. So those, they have like very special case that they, in the beginning, they were in an illegal situation. So now that government try like to put them in camps and like do some procedures to solve their problems. But for Syrians who like already was under the protection in Turkey, most of them, they back to their like own life and own cities.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to add something, like now we are staying at home. Yes, stay at home, but don't forget humanity. I always say this because it's very important. Now people, especially refugees, when they don't have work, like all people, they don't work, they don't have income, they cannot pay even the rent of home, and I see the food need in Gaziantep is really needed, and people, they are asking for food because they don't have anything. So what, Mr. Mohammed, what would you like to tell the world about? Yes, stay at home, but don't forget humanity, because if you see now the work for refugees, it's not like before. Nobody's speaking about refugees, and the world forgets refugees, and now the refugees, they are really in need. So how we can solve the problem of how the world can hear refugees, and how we can work on refugees in this corona pandemic?
Well, actually, as you mentioned, it's not something small. Like we are facing this problem since 8-9 years, And to be honest, even if Turkey is the most country in the world having refugees, but comparing refugees in Turkey with, for example, Lebanon or Jordan or like Iraq, the refugee situation here is really, really good. And this is really point count for like Turkish society and Turkish government. Yes, there is some lake still. We are talking about 4 million refugees. There is a lot of job had already done for refugees here in Turkey. Maybe it's not enough because the need is so big. Most important that most of us like has to be aware this is like this the problem. It's for us, all of us, like as you mentioned, like I cannot say, okay, I'm at home, my family is safe, I have my my income, it's fine, so like that's fine for me, you know, like we have all of us like to collaborate together to like pass this problem for refugees or corona or other problems, especially the border. Especially like last 2 months was like not easy at all, and since like 2020 start, it's amazing year. We had like problem by problem, day by day, and like more than 1 million refugees. Like for example, in Syria, they left after the Assad regime started bombing Turkish military in Idlib. They left their houses and like moved near from the borders. Those they are not in Turkey. They are not in the camps. They just staying like nowhere, and just like in the like really in the streets. If someone like near from the camps, you can see that even from the Syrian side. The problem with those, they not only like they don't have places to stay and to be safe, also like they have like very late knowledge about coronavirus, and they have really looking just like for the basics needs about the food, about the clothes, and about like they are asking just for like tents to stay, and they keep their kids safe from the rain. That's it. So yes, the problem, it's not easy. You need like everyone to be responsible about not only himself, about the society, and be responsible about that we're living here and we have all of us to cooperate together.
Yes, I want to speak a little bit about Mohammed Damur. Mohammed Damur also is running Orphan Home here in Gaziantep, and they have a lot of kids. They are taking care of their education, health, and their life. So I would like Mohammed a little bit to speak about the Orphan Home, how it is, and how many children you have, and how did you start of this? What was the story of the starting, and also how they are like now in Corona virus situation.
Mhm. Well, actually, the orphanage called Salam Center, the Peace Home, we start in the end of 2012. And actually the idea was like from my mother and my sister. It was like family projects. They decided to sponsor some orphans kids from Syria, and we start with the 5 girls. But day by day we keep bringing more kids to our home, and then we take independent a house, and after that a building, and after that another building, until we ended in our current building with 63 flats. We have in 2018 we reached 200 kids. Yeah, in the beginning we start like only with the orphans who lost both of their parents, but after that it was like really hard job, because like we don't have staff worker. As I mentioned, it's a family project. Then after that, when we start struggling, we start like having some volunteers with us, Turkish and Syrians as well, and we start like even do some fundraising during our friend and relative and people around us. In the centers, we have full sponsorship for the kids. All the kids are like, of course, like registered legally, and they have like the kimlik, the protection ID card, and we register all of them in Turkish schools. But of course, the journey was not easy at all in the beginning. Most of the kids had like many problems regarding with the situation in Syria, the war, the bombing, and losing their parents. So like each kids was like arriving to our center, we were like working like with him as a special case for like to measure his situation in all levels, education and health and mental. And after that, we start like we start building his character, and like see the gaps in he need to fill in. And nowadays we have 11 orphans. They are an excellent level in Turkish schools. Most of our orphans speak Arabic and Turkish fluently. And as I mentioned, like we have the kids like lost, all of them lost their father, but some of them they lost both of their parents. Some of them they stay in the center with their mother. Since the corona start, actually we did some focus awareness sessions for widows, especially talking to them about hygiene, about sterilization, and about how they protect their family and their kids. And since the schools are like off, so the kids, we did some activities at the centers. And here I really appreciate, and I want to thank also the people, especially Turkish people, who donate their old desktops and laptops for the center recently to help the orphans to study online. It was like really a big move for us. Alhamdulillah, we don't have any case in the center for the kids or for widows. We try our best like to keep them safe until the situation got more clear.
Yes, and how you get funds for the orphan home, because I know it's the only orphan home in Gaziantep, and you have a lot of kids there. It's not easy to take care of them. So can you tell us about like the problems or the challenges that you faced?
Well, actually, the finance problem, it starts from the first day of the center. Like you have a project, it's not like one action you do. It's life you take care with the kids, more than 200 kids. So before even pandemic of Corona, we had like some crisis with the finance, how we can like cover the rent, the bills, everything for all the needs for the center. And by the way, like all the staff who work with us are volunteers, like me or my sister. All of us have another job. So like even without like working volunteers, you still need financial support for the main costs. Actually, the big funds came from the friends around us and relative. But about the corona, actually the situation is really got so bad. And now recently I start thinking to start like doing a new program or projects called Sponsored Online, where we can keep the kids in the center. But if anyone want to sponsor the one kid, or like he can communicate with him anytime, of course. So like I'm trying like to do something to find some channels, some ways to cover the main cost for the center.
Yes, and it's amazing, Mr. Mohammed, and I know it's a big success, especially for the orphan home, because it's really important. And being a mother and a father for many kids, it's not easy. thank you for this work. It's amazing, really. If we come back to the NGOs situation, also I want to ask you about if the NGOs now, like, they have a project, but because of the coronavirus stopped, how they can work for right now, how their work is going on, and can they like continue their projects. For example, some of people, they had project for education, for awareness raising, for preventing early marriage, like all this project, how can people like doing it? And I think it's stopped, but how they will do it?
Well, actually, as you mentioned, that most of the projects was postponed, not only for NGOs, even for the companies. Now it's regarding for the confusion stage. Most of the NGO, they trying to rebuild their priorities for the projects. And I believe that the next step for them will be like to back for the awareness projects and healthcare project. But again, like their job, it's not only because the confusion period, but also because the fund. I believe that there will be like a huge challenge to fund projects for the NGOs, like since that the pandemic is globally.
Yes, thank you very much. And do you have message for the world?
Well, it's actually the message I can say, like as a Syrian, I want to say like 9 years Syrians are like really struggling with the situation in Syria, and I hope it will end soon and no harm come for all the world, all human in this world, to keep everyone safe. And if I will be like more specific, I want to send message for youth and young people, since my main job is with economic empowerment. Recently, I had lots of calls from youth entrepreneurs. They were like keep their life normal, casual. They said like even if we got the corona situation, like we will stay in 1 week and the bed. After that, we will be fine. It's very important for those people to understand that all of us, we need to collaborate together. It's very important to understand that these days it's very important to keep as much as we can available beds in hospitals for people in need, for older people. So even if we are young, even if we can handle the virus, like we have to follow all the hygiene and sterilization and quarantine procedures to not give the infections for other people. So that's it.
Yes, thank you very much for this like nice discussion. And now like we are done, and I would like to thank you and thank all the people who are watching us. I hope also the corona pandemic will end soon, and I would like to tell all the world that yes, now we cannot go outside, but I ask all of people to work on the social media, to don't forget people, and please don't forget humanity. Now the way is only the way that we can use only is the social media, and please stay home, but don't forget humanity. And I would like to say to people who the world call them refugees, and please be strong. We as a Syrian activist, we faced war, we stayed in the refugee camp, we had a lot of difficulties and we had a lot of challenges, and now we are facing another challenge also, another difficulty also. I hope we'll finish soon. Thank you very much for everybody, and thank you for İGAMTV I hope like you had nice time with us. Thank you.
Thank you.